Welcome back. This is part 2 of our 5x7 headlight housing showdown, where we're going to showcase all of the different 5x7 headlights that are available on the market today. If you missed part 1, we went over all the different types of LED 5x7 headlights, such as this one from United Pacific. Here in part 2, we're going to talk about Star HID, GTR lighting, Vision X, some generic options, and show you the different halogen and HID products. If you want to see part 1 for LED 5x7 housings, click the link on the screen right here. Otherwise, let's look at some HID and halogen options. If you're looking for something a little more normal looking, that's not really stylized and doesn't have a whole lot of, weird LED accents or projectors or colors, if you just want something kind of normal looking, I want to show you the Vision X 5x7. This is part number VX-57, and you can find it on our website or in the links below the video. It is probably the best plain looking 5x7 headlight housing on the market. One of the reasons for that is it's DOT approved, where the cheaper generic ones are not, and the build quality is really fantastic. Here in front of me, I have the Vision X 5x7, the VX-57, a generic crystal lens 5x7 that you can find all over the place online. They're both roughly the same shape. They both take H4 bulbs. They both have kind of a similar style, but they're made really, really differently. The first thing is the lenses on them are totally different. The generic Chinese one has kind of a plasticky feel to it. And when you break this lens and you kind of rip the shards out, it actually feels like some kind of a hard plastic glass kind of composite. It's really weird. The other thing that happens with these is in short order, they turn yellow and they get chipped and pitted. So that's kind of an issue with these in terms of lens. On the Vision X one, they use real glass, and right on the front of the lens, it says DOT. If you look right here, you can see that it says DOT, OVOH, SAE, HR01, HB2, and S-2212S. Some of these numbers and letters are just for manufacturing purposes, but the big thing is that it is DOT and SAE approved, and it says that it's for use with an HB2 halogen light bulb. HB2 and H4 are roughly interchangeable. When you look at the front of the generic Chinese crystal reflector housing, you see absolutely nothing. If they can cut a corner with this type of housing, they're going to do it. The other thing that we've noticed over time with these two headlights is the beam pattern is really, really different. The Vision X one gives a really nice, smooth and wide beam pattern, whereas the crystal lens Chinese headlight has a very weird shape. It's kind of like a big oval with spikes coming out of it. It's really weird. You'll see in a second what I'm talking about. So if you want to avoid something that gives really weird light output, just save yourself the trouble and get the Vision X one. They're a little over 60 bucks a pair, DOT approved, and way brighter than stock. When customers get the generic 5x7, the crystal lens Chinese one of the complaints that we hear a lot is that the little reflector bowl in front of the bulb is sometimes in different positions inside the headlight housing. This is just a manufacturing quality issue. That problem has never been the case with the Vision X light. The other thing I should mention about the Vision X light is that it's not the only decent, standard style halogen headlight on the market, but it's a good representation of all of them, and we've had nothing but good luck with them. So this is what we recommend to our customers. If you look online, you can find other good 5x7 housings similar to the Vision X one from companies like Sirius and United Pacific. When you turn them around and look at the backside, there's some more telling evidence that makes you think that you should probably stay away from the cheaper housings when the Vision X housings aren't much more expensive. The Vision X backside is actually made of metal. So the front is real glass and the back is metal. And it's painted black, so you're not going to get any corrosion or any problems with metal on metal contact, whereas the Chinese one is a very cheap gray colored plastic. Also, when you take the bulb cover boots off, you can see how they work. They look very similar, but again, one is metal and one is plastic. This screw that holds the retainer spring in place on each of these is a really critical point in the operation of these headlights. A lot of times people have said that unscrewing and screwing in the screw that holds the retainer in place on the cheaper housings can strip out and break the plastic really quite easy. On the Vision X one, that problem is mitigated by doing an all metal construction. The Chinese housing does usually come with H4 halogen bulbs. The Vision X does not, and that might bother some people, but in my opinion, the bulbs that come with the generic Chinese housings like this one are really no good. You should probably throw them in the trash and get something better for them anyways. Normally with the Vision X sealed beam style 5x7 housings, you would use an H4 bulb. This is what it's designed for, and it works really well. Vision X has 3 different types of H4 halogen bulbs. You have the VX LH4, the regular power blue tinted bulb. You have the VX DH4, the lifetime warranty DOT approved halogen bulb, and you have the VX HH4. That is the high power 80 watt and 100 watt halogen light bulb. If you don't want to do halogen, you want something brighter that's probably going to last longer, we do offer options like LED headlight bulb kits and high power HID bulbs. You can see the HID bulb has the same type of base as the halogen H4. The new HID H4 bulb from GTR Lighting should just slide right in place and fit in the same grooves as the H4 bulb it was intended for. Now, because the magnet on the HID is larger than the halogen, you will have to bend the retaining clip around a little bit to make it work, but essentially it should fit just like the regular bulbs. Now on the HID bulb, we don't have the standard 3-pin connector coming off. We have 3 other connectors. We have this small 2-wire connector, which operates the high-low beam function of the HID bulb, and we have the 2 bulb input wires that go from the ballast to the bulb. The ballast connects like this, and each HID kit comes with a high quality relay harness. This is not something you're going to find from most HID companies, and this is one of the reasons why we prefer the GTR Lighting brand of HID conversion kits. One side connects to the battery. You got your H4 connector that goes to your factory wiring. You have the 2 amp connectors that go to the bulbs. You have 2 grounds for each ballast power wire. And after you hook this up to a battery power source and connect all the connectors, it should just turn on and operate like a normal headlight. First, I wanted to show you our stock sealed beam halogen H6052. Here's low beam. And we give it power to high beam, that turns on. So from here, it honestly doesn't look like that bad of a headlight, but it's really not very wide, it's really not very tall, and it has that yellow glow that everybody hates. So this is our benchmark. Now, if you want something that is a little more standard looking and easier to install, what I got here is the Vision X 5x7 clear lens headlights with the Vision X VX-LH4 regular power halogen bulb. From Vision X, these are supposed to be a little bit less yellow than your stock H4 light bulbs. And I think they did a pretty good job, but the biggest thing to note is the beam pattern difference. You know, it's a really similar style to your factory headlight. It still has the big reflector system. It still has a halogen light bulb. So this one's the most similar to the factory lighting. But if you compare this beam with the stock H6054 beam, you know, here's low beam on the Vision X, and here's low beam on the original sealed beam headlight. Obviously a huge difference. The color is better, the Vision X housing has more light output, and the beam pattern itself is also larger. Now when we do the comparison to high beam, you can see the same type of thing going on. Here's the Vision X 5x7 high beam, and here's the stock 5x7 high beam. So the Vision X one is great if you want a simple install and a stock look to your vehicle, but just better light output. This isn't even a high power halogen bulb. This is a regular power halogen bulb. If you wanted to go with the high power 80 watt low beam, 100 watt high beam halogen bulb, that's an option also for this housing. So here's the same Vision X 5x7 sealed beam style housing, but this time we installed a 55 watt 5000K HID kit from GTR Lighting. You can see it's a similar shape beam pattern as the original halogen beam pattern, but the hot spot in the center is way brighter, and now it's a white color light instead of yellow. And of course with HID, you can pick the color that you want to use, anything from 5000K white like this, or more of a blue hue like 6 or 8000K. We switch to high beam with the HID bulb. You see that the beam pattern shifts up, and low beam with a 55 watt HID. The last one I wanted to show you, and to back up my claim of how terrible they are, here is the cheaper generic Chinese headlight housing. This is the 5x7 crystal reflector style headlight. These are available pretty much anywhere online for 20 to 50 bucks, depending on where you find them. And they all kind of look the same. I don't care if you're doing the projector style lens headlight or the crystal reflector with a halo, without a halo. They all have this insane looking beam pattern. Earlier I said it kind of looked like a star shaped or spiky, and now you can see why. There's no consistency in the light pattern whatsoever. Why is there a faint spike on the top left and a bright spike on the top right, and this weird, cluster that goes left, and then it's kind of becomes unfocused on the right side? And then we got this big weird spike that comes out here. I mean, it's just a really strange housing, and what this is proof of is they just made a headlight housing that was the right shape without actually any engineering or thought into how it would actually perform. So this is the low beam with the blue tinted halogen H4 bulb that these headlights come with. And here's your high beam. All of the crazy shapes disappear, and we just get one more tightly controlled beam in the top center. There's low beam, there's high beam. Easily the worst shaped beam pattern and light output. I'd almost rather have the stock headlights than this one. Here is the same generic Chinese 5x7 crystal headlight, but now installed with a 55 watt 5000K HID kit. But all the same weird shape and glare everywhere is still present. So even with a brighter HID bulb, it doesn't fix the beam pattern, it just accentuates what's wrong with it. If we go to high beam, the beam shifts up and more tightly focused, just like the halogen version did, but it's still kind of an awful beam pattern. Definitely bright. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a really incredible amount of light. We're looking at about 5,000 lumens or so here, but it's just look at all this weird reflections and shapes everywhere that you get. When you point this thing out in front of you on the road, I think you're gonna notice a lot of those. So here's low beam, and here's high beam. I hope you learned something about the different types of crystal style reflector 5x7 headlights. If you want the Vision X 5x7 headlight for your next project, please contact us. Or if you still have questions about your options, you can contact us at headlightrevolution.com. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the product review that we post next.